Hi, my name is Kate. I'm also known as Two Little Kits, and welcome to my FlossTube. I have a plan about what I'm going to talk about. There's not a lot to chat about this fortnight, but there are some things that I want to share, so let's get started. I want to start by chatting about my holiday ornaments, the time frame for making sure that you receive them before December is quickly coming up. I have until the end of September for you guys to place an order so that you can get your ornament before the start of December. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but I do have quite a few ornaments in place. I think I've got 9 so far. Because I batch stitched them, even though they're not big, they're never big, but because even though they're not a full portrait, like a full person size, there are a lot of them that I stitch all at once so that I make sure everyone has equal opportunity to receive them on time. So giving myself what is roughly 6 to probably more closely to 7 weeks to stitch them all, which is the beginning of October of that cut. I'm rambling, but hopefully it makes sense. Cutting it off at the start of October, I feel gives me the best chance to produce and deliver on time. So yeah, the 30th of September is the last day for you to place an order and make sure that it gets to you on time. If you place an order after that, you'll still get it likely before Christmas. It just might come during December. So keep that in mind, and I really hope that you do place an order for an ornament because I love stitching them and I love seeing them all together at the end, and yeah, so do that please. There's a link in the bio to be able to go and do that. I want to chat about my upcoming font. It's called Paige and it's a ginormous font. I was talking about it last FlossTube, but I now have the full pangram all stitched up that you can see nicely. So this is it. And just a reminder that this is on 18 count, so it is quite large, but that should not dissuade you from getting it because as you can see, it's very pretty. I love it. I'm so excited about this one. It is going to be tricky for a lot of people, I assume. I am assuming that it will be tricky. So I am creating a how-to booklet, like ebook, that you can purchase optionally alongside the actual font itself to help you connect all the letters together to create the words that you want to create. That part is taking me a long time to do. I haven't made an ebook in a long time. I have made them before, but it's been a long time. And I am doing what I feared I would do, which is nitpicking the design and the layout and all of that stuff rather than focusing on generating the content for the book itself. But I have the bones, I think, of the ebook created. I have like the front cover and the intro pages and all of that stuff. I'm currently working on explaining parts of the stitching for this, which right now is about the fact that there are 9 points on each square of the Aida fabric that you can actually stick your needle into, because I am trying to be helpful, but it's obviously going to make it quite a large book, and it's definitely going to be that extra cost alongside the font itself. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that last FlossTube, but there's definitely going to be an extra cost to it. It will be a book that you can get that will help you with other cross-stitching stuff too, but it's obviously going to be mostly directed towards connecting the letters nicely together. It won't have every single letter connection that there is available, but it will have frequently used connections. Like some letters might only have one change, or an example of one connection to a frequent letter. Like for example, Q. There's not going to be like a whole variety of connections for the letter Q because it's always going to be, well, mostly going to be QU as the two letters next to each other. So just an example of how to maybe manipulate the U to create the QU look nicely. Hopefully that makes sense. It's going to be a really big book, but I hope that it's going to be really helpful for anyone that decides to get this. So that's a whole ramble that I apparently am a blah 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 mood today. So just know that I'm excited. I'm really happy that this is completed. It was, yeah, really nice to see the font come alive. I mean, that always happens whenever I make a new font and I stitch it up. It's always awesome to see it. My plan also, I'm not focusing on this now, but it has been a plan in the works for a while, is to actually stitch my font names in the font themselves so that I can then use them for like listings, imagery and stuff like that. And I think Paige will look really cool in that thing. You've been able to see it digitally when I posted about it on Instagram, but being able to see it all stitched up is always very nice. Anyway, moving on. That's a finished piece. So we'll keep going with finished pieces because I do have one. It's not washed and pressed, so it doesn't look great yet, but I just finished this yesterday. This is the one of the two companion pieces for my Farming Magic stitch along that I talked about. I did mention last FlossTube that I was working on this. I had just started last FlossTube, so that tells you like what I've been working on a lot when I've been stitching, because it's finished. But I didn't bring it upstairs with me last FlossTube, so I didn't share it. But yeah, this is what it looks like. This is the finished piece. So this will be the one on the left of the finished piece. So it'll have another one of these that'll be here, and then the big Farming Magic stitch along will be in the middle, and this one will be on the left. I made a couple of changes, like I added his hand wrapped around the hoe, and what else did I do? I did another change, and oh yeah, his pants. I made his pants the dark blue because she listed it as this outer blue here, and I wanted him to be wearing jeans instead. So I think the changes I made look cool. Let's move on to works in progress because it's a good tangent. The first work in progress is the other one of those, which is this piece here. I'm working on black right now, which there is a lot of on this side. You can probably see that there is some phantom ghost kind of holes, and this is because I started working on this one and I started doing black first, and on the designs that she provided, she had around all of the bookmarks a black line, and so I was like, I'll do that first, so that way it's easier for me to stitch all the rest of the designs, because then I can be like, oh, it's on this one, oh, it's on this one. And then I got across and down and then back up and then to here, and then I started coming down, and I was like, I realized that there was no border around the actual stitch along itself, and the black border on these I felt would be really like in your face, like too dark, and just it wouldn't match very nicely to the stitch along. So that's why I left this one. I was gonna stitch them at the same time for each color together, but I left this one to think about it for a while, and eventually I think like a week ago I was like, I don't like it. I don't want to do a border around the whole stitch along itself, so I ripped it out, and yeah, so you can potentially see the little ghosty dots, but I'm very hopeful that when I wash this, they will like relax a little bit. So fingers crossed for me, because otherwise I'll have to stitch it again. But yeah, so I've done the purples, well, 2 of the 3 purples, and I'm working on black. I'm making a couple of changes on this one as well. So this one is 2 girls. I think the only change I can think of without like pulling out my pattern is I'm gonna change the skin tone of this girl here to be what I normally do, my own skin tone actually, I think, or my kids. But in my own family portraits, I do 945, which is not a color that she has listed in the pattern itself. But I want to change one of them so that she looks a little different from this boy, because it's meant to be using this color, which this is actually a color she's added for these bookmarks. It wasn't in the stitch along itself. So yeah. So that's one of my works in progress. And the other one is, just got to tighten it in the hoop, and it's got fluffy bits all over it. This one, and I've just noticed that there's a problem. So we'll see if it ends up being a problem or if I can fix it really easily. But it's this one for my husband for Christmas, which was going to be for his birthday, but I wasn't enjoying working on it at the time. So I've almost finished all of the black work. I just got to finish up this little bit down here, and then I'll do the outlines around the black work, and then the words which go like, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. And then that one will be ready to give to him. There is a problem. I know that there's a problem, definitely. So you can see that there's kind of like a gap, whereas the lines, the horizontal lines touch the actual moon itself, but they don't touch here. I don't really know how I've messed that up, because they're supposed to be shifted over. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I may end up just ripping out all of these horizontal lines, to be honest, and redoing it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I don't have to do that. But if it doesn't look good, then I will fix it. But the problem I just saw then is there's this like little gap here. I don't know if that's deliberate, because there are some gaps. There are little stars that have also got a stitch. Yeah, there's like one here. The little gaps, some of the little gaps are deliberate, like this one as well. But I don't know what this outside one is about. I don't know how I've managed that. This is definitely a piece that I would normally put in timeout, because it has been frustrating me a bit. But I don't want to delay it again as a gift, so I am working on it. Wish me luck. That is my works in progress and my finished pieces and my font. I guess we'll move on to IRL. The reason that is like I'm impressed with myself with that is because I have been spending a lot more time not stitching and not doing Two Little Kit stuff and focusing on my family and spending time with them. Yeah, I've just been feeling a lot of guilt about random stuff, and one of them is just about focusing on the 3 people that are very important in my life. So yeah, the last the last 2 weeks I've definitely tried very hard to give myself some grace and remind myself of who is important and that they deserve my attention and my focus. Yeah, it has meant that I haven't done as much work on the fonts ebook, for example, or as much stitching as I might like to do, or whatever. I am gagging at the moment to do some work on my iPad for embroidery designs to then put into, like, to then create the designs themselves and then stitch them. But like I have 2 embroidery pieces that are in the works that I haven't touched or done anything with for a while. So I'm like, it feels like I'm romanticizing the idea rather than actually wanting to do that. So I don't know. What else has been going on? I had my latest belt test last week. So I'm now a blue stripe, which is very cool. I have we're in a new cycle now, and it's a kicking cycle. We rotate between a punching and a kicking cycle at the martial arts studio that I go to, and now it's a kicking one. And because I'm what's called a Sarjang, because I'm a blue belt, it's a lot harder. It's my first kicking cycle as in this new like level, basically, because when you're a white to an orange stripe, which is 5 belts, everything is a lot easier because you're just a beginner, you're learning. And now that I'm the next rank up, it's a lot harder. And I'm not I have a lot of body mass to move around. I'm not as fit as I would really like to be, and it is hard, but I'll get there. I think that this is the hardest of the 2 kicking cycles for this rank, this like level. So once I get past this, it'll be good. And then I'll be doing the hardest punching cycle, I believe, if I remember what my daughter was doing correctly when she was 4 cycles ago. So anyway, I have a new belt, and that's exciting. And the other thing that's really nice is because I've been there for over a year now, I've been making friends, so yay! On that note, I have started back at physical therapy for my busted toe, which for those playing at home, it has almost been 2 years since I shattered the bone in my big toe, and it is still causing me issues. It will likely cause me issues for the rest of my life, so yay. But I have been finding that it's been a lot sorer just day to day than what I would like, basically. And I actually wanted to go back to physical therapy last week, but as a tangent, I was so sick on the day that I was supposed to go. It was Wednesday last week. That morning I got my kids ready for school. I drove my youngest to school, and my oldest catches the bus. So I sent her off onto the bus, took my youngest to school, came back home, and I slept for 4 hours because I just was so exhausted just from doing that. I got a call after an hour and a half of being asleep saying, hey, you had an appointment with us today. Would you like to reschedule? I was just like, oh my God, I really wanted to do that appointment. But they thankfully were able to fit me in yesterday. And so I'm back at physical therapy, which was so painful. And I've got the next 3 weeks of seeing my physical therapist, and hopefully just like, because I find it's easier for her to do work on it than it is for me, because as soon as something starts to really hurt, I always back off, and it's easier to just push through it and focus on making it through the other end of the pain if she's working on my foot. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, I'm back at physical therapy. Yesterday though, which I had my physical therapy appointment. Yesterday was like the busiest day that I've had in a very long time. I had 6, I think, things I needed to do. It was therapies for my daughters, both of my daughters, for myself, martial arts, picking my kids from school. My youngest had ballet. It was just like so busy. I got to have an hour to myself to have a shower after martial arts, and that's about it until I got home after the last thing for the day. It was just so busy. So yeah, but it was kind of like an accomplishment as well, in a way. I managed to organize the whole day to work with each other and just make it through the day. Like those 2 things definitely felt like an accomplishment. So go me, yeah. The last thing that is IRL is Last weekend, I went to the state fair with my kids. My husband stayed home because he was also really sick last week, and his body doesn't recover as quickly as mine does. I don't know if it's just because like I have mum powers or something like that. I don't know. So because we'd had to push back going to the state fair 2 weekends already, he and I agreed that if he wasn't better by Sunday, then I would take them. So I did. And also, like, I was gagging to find out whether or not my stuff had won anything. So yeah, I took them and we were there for about 4 hours or something like that. And thankfully it was the cooler of the 2 days, but it still was really hot. And my kids had a blast, and we spent too much money and ate a lot of crappy fair food, and I got to find out how my work did. So I posted on social media how I did, but I will post the photos here as well. All 3 of my pieces won ribbons, which I was not expecting, but was so awesome to see. I got a 2nd place, a 3rd place, and an honorable mention. So the Spring Bliss was entered in the Your Own Design category, and that was what got 2nd place. My Simply Florals was entered into Brazilian embroidery, which just it didn't have sizes or anything like that as different categories. It was just in Brazilian embroidery. That one got 3rd place. And my cross stitch piece, which I entered into the smallest cross stitch design size because I didn't have anything bigger than that I could share, won an honorable mention. So I'm super pleased with how I did. I'm very proud of myself for even entering, and I will definitely be entering again next year. I'm thinking that I want to do most likely one of the stitch alongs that I've been working on. I didn't do any work on the greenhouse stitch along this past fortnight, so it's not like I forgot about it. I hadn't touched it all week. So yeah, I will either enter like the farming one or the greenhouse, or maybe even the library stitch along from last year if I pick it up again, which I'm hoping to do so either during or after I've worked on ornaments. Ornaments may just sort of take over all of my stitching focus. I'm not sure. We'll see how things go, basically. That'll be cool because that'll mean I can enter in multiple cross stitch pieces, because I will definitely have a small, less than 24-inch sized cross stitch that I'll want to enter, I'd say. And those stitch alongs are bigger than 24-inch in size, because they measure it, like you add up all the sides and that's your size of your piece itself. So yeah, congratulate me in the comments, please. Make me feel amazing. I would appreciate that. That would be super awesome. Tell me which one of the 3 is your favorite. I'd love to know. The only other thing that I didn't write a note about that I want to add is that I'm hoping really soon to get back into releasing new patterns. My current timeline, I guess, is that the font is going to be the first thing that I release, and then like I'll get back into patterns again, if that makes sense. So because the font is, this how-to book is just taking up a lot of mental bandwidth, and once I complete it I'll feel like weight off shoulders kind of feeling. Yeah, so it'll be the font, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be back to doing the every fortnight thing again, where I was doing a FlossTube and then a new pattern and then a FlossTube and then a new pattern. That's my hope, especially now that the kids are back at school. I hope. I miss releasing stuff. I miss having new things to share and sell, really, I guess. Oh, if you want, you can get this jumper. This is Stitch Repeat jumper that you can get, or sweater, whatever you call it. You can get it as a t-shirt as well, and it comes in like, sorry, it comes in a bunch of different colors, and this is actually stitched on. I'll show you up close. So this is machine embroidered. It's very cool. I really like it. So you can get one of these too. And you should. It's because the weather's getting colder. I love it. I'm so happy that the weather's getting colder. So get a jumper. I'm actually planning on releasing some new jumpers of already existing designs. So let me know in the comments of any of my designs that aren't a jumper that you would like as a jumper. I would love to hear that. On that note, I will love you and leave you. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on all of the other socials. They're in the link. There's links in the description to be able to do that quickly. But until next time, I'll see you around the internet. Bye.